Now here I got my HTML page, and that'll work for the purpose of creating a scraping page. All right, so let's open up Web Scraper Plus, and we're going to create a data page for this particular job, a new data page. And so let me see, where am I going to go to get the model page? Well, that's my model page, right? So I'm just going to kind of like right click this, hit properties, hit security. It's just one quick way of getting the actual object name, the whole thing. Okay, so now I have the address to this page, cool and stuff. Let me, where was I? Let me go back to what I needed, which is here. That's right, and the data page, which is there. Okay, I'm gonna paste it and go. There we go, I got all my entries. I'm gonna go ahead and make a new data page from this thing, and I'm gonna call it something like YouTube big list. Flip over here, deselect that, all the stuff you learn when you're in the TFAN. Fine, boom. Now I've got it. Now what I need is an initialization field, and then I can start scraping this stuff up. So I'm just going to cheat. I'm going to pretend this is going to be my data set. Bam. I'm only going to have one data set. I'm just going to go with a number it thinks because I'm going to cheat anyway. I'm just going to say this is the actual initialization string. Okay, and I'm going to call this, let's say, list, whatever. Database SQL now. Yeah, we're actually going to move this stuff into SQL. I'm going to make it, whoops, big list. Okay, piece of cake. We're going to call it table list. What the heck? Why not? Apply it. Metadata, don't need that. You know all this stuff. Boom. Now let me get that page back up. Drop this thing down. I'm to my fields. What am I going to do with my fields? Well, there's the first entry I need. So let me go ahead and say this represents what we're doing. Highlight that thing properly. Get all the characters. Right. Add as a new field. Fine. The field is going to be, let's say, name. And in the database, we're just going to call it, underscore name. All right. No column filter is necessary. It's just simple text. And the tags. Well, the tag's just going to be the opening caret and the closing caret. We don't need anything more than that. Anything more will just slow it down. Then we hit OK. Now, that's all cool and stuff. And we can actually go ahead and run this out. Only thing, this is one page with over 10,000 entries to scrape. And a lot of you guys have this problem. Your computer's not fast enough for a page this big. Right? Well, we got this thing done. It's all done, but we wouldn't want to test it maybe on this much data. So the question is, how might you actually deal with a smaller page? First, I do want to make the changes. Well, watch what I'm going to do. Let me go back into my folder here, and let me make a copy of this thing. All right, and I'm going to paste it. And on my copy, I'm going to rename this back for a minute to CSV. And obviously could have done this in the beginning. I'm just kind of showing you through things left and right. Let me open that. I get my CSV. I'm just going to break it off at something like 130 or so. Something with just a few entries on the page so it's not too big to load. Because I'm going to show you a new trick here in a minute. Delete. Okay, and then I'm going to save it. Yes. And whatever. Go ahead. Yes, I'll replace it. Fine. Yes. And I'm done with that, except I'll get rid of that. That's just something that's popping up on my end. Here, let me just rename this to like sample. But guess what? I'm going to make it HTML. Yep, change it. Yes, open it with Notepad, and you're going to start to suddenly realize, oh, this is a little familiar. Oh, I was going to get rid of commas. Don't need to at this point. Great, one less thing to bother with. Fine. So guess what I have now? If I right click, hit properties, go to security, grab my object name, any which way you want to go to get the object name, then what can I do? I can go back to my data page. Let me go down and get it. It's at the bottom, starting with a Y for YouTube big list. Let me open that up. Now let me just go there. Bam. Okay. And go. And there you go. It's small, so I can test it easily. Bam. There you go. There are all these entries, and you see that there's a dupe entry at the top, which we can deal with, and there's a blank, which we can deal with. That's a piece of cake. But there you go. It's all set. It's all ready. So this data page works. Okay. I could store it right now. I don't want to though, because I'm going to go ahead and build a package to get the whole thing. Now, here's the thing though. how do you deal with really, really big files? You know, like let's say this thing, okay, we're done with the sample. We don't need it anymore. Delete it. Okay. I just need it to see if it was scraping right. What if this thing had 100,000 names on it? You wouldn't even want to open this thing once on a lot of computers out there because we like jam your computer. It's just too much data, right? Okay, let me close that. Yep. Don't need to. Okay. It's just too much data. So how do you deal with something like this? Let me show you a cool trick. First of all, let me bring this thing back to a CSV file. And obviously it's faster when you just go through the order naturally, but in order to show you, I keep going in circles to make sure you understand the point. Now check this out. Let's say this was huge, right? And I only wanted individual pages, or I wanted a bunch of files that were no more than like 100 rows each. But I don't want to like go copy paste, copy paste, copy paste all these things into different files. It would be insane, especially if it was like 100,000 plus. Well, check this out. Let me get back over here. If you go to the Moji Crew side of the house, moji-crew.com/resources.html for the Moji Crew website. One of the tools there is called a CSV splitter. Guess what that does? It's a little program that splits CSV files into files into smaller ones. Click that guy right there. Go ahead and click this. Download the file and save it and unzip it. And you'll see what you have here in a second, because I'm going to get rid of that. And now you've seen that. And I'll get back to this thing in a minute for a reason. But anyway, all right, let me get rid of that too. I'm going to come back here for a reason. In the meantime, I already did my whole CSV file splitter bit, so there it is. All right, it says take a CSV file. You can browse and grab it, or you can just paste in the address and then split it into some number of rows, literally each. Well, here we go. I'm just going to take this thing. As a matter of fact, yeah, there it is. Whoops, don't want to rename it. I want to take it here, properties, hit security, get my path. I'm happy with my path. That's the whole path to the file. And I'm just going to paste it in here in place of that. Boom. Now, I want it to be 100 lines each. That's going to be nuts. There's going to be a whole lot of little files. Wham. And there they are in the pieces. Well, they're all great, except that each one of these things, I mean, they're right. It's their own share of whatever the files would be. You know, if I start with something else. And it's okay if I have dupes. It's using the leader and then not duping anything else. But that's okay. We can deal with that. That's a piece of cake. Except that all these are CSV files, right? Man, I need to convert all these things into HTML files. But look, there's a bunch of them, man. There's how many? 101? That would be a pain, right? Right-click, rename. Well, we can just deal with that with a batch file, which is, again, part of what we teach in the TFAN, right? How to create little things you can use. We're going to call our batch file rename, okay? And it's going to be a simple little thing. It's going to use a command called rename, which is just REN, really. And we're going to say rename anything that is CSV to .html. That's it. Close it, save it, and rename it to a batch file. So, .bat. Yep, let's change it. Now, it's thinking locally, so it's going to rename whatever's here from a CSV into an HTML, which doesn't make any sense for me, so I'm going to drag this into the right folder. There, that way now it'll rename anything inside there from a CSV to an HTML. Okay, and only in here, because that's it. It's only going to work inside the directory it knows. So let me run it.